Man cannot stand a meaningless life. He needs a myth, a pattern, an archetype to inhabit, or he loses himself. Carl Jung. Something is missing in modern men, and they know it. You can see it in their eyes, the dullness, the quiet panic, the hesitation that wasn't there in generations past. It's not just about unemployment or dating struggles or still living at home at 32. Those are symptoms. The disease is deeper. We live in a world where the numbers speak louder than opinions. 1 in 4 young men reports having no close friends. Most men under 30 are single. Most young women are not. Record numbers of men are living with their parents well into adulthood. Suicide rates? 4 times higher in men. Addiction? 3 times more likely. Incarceration? 12 times more likely. But let me be clear, this isn't just a sociological crisis. This is a psychological collapse. And it often begins in silence. Not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that weighs on your chest like a cinder block at 2 a.m. That moment when you're sitting in a room full of people and yet you feel like you're vanishing. That feeling of being unseen, unneeded, unfelt. This video isn't just a lecture, it's a confession. Because I'm not speaking from a mountaintop. I'm speaking from the inside of that silence. I'm someone who doesn't have a lot of friends. I'm someone who has felt invisible in a world that keeps moving faster and faster while I struggle to keep up. I'm someone who has looked around and thought, is this it? Is this what manhood is supposed to be? We were promised more, not in the way of wealth or status, but in meaning, in brotherhood, in fire. The truth is, men today are not just disconnected from each other. We are disconnected from ourselves, from something ancient, from something sacred, from something that once told us who we are and what we are meant to become. And that something is the masculine archetype. That's where we begin. There is a hidden structure in every man's mind, a blueprint. It isn't written in books or taught in schools. It's older than language. And if you don't know it's there, you will spend your life wondering why you feel incomplete. This structure is made of archetypes. An archetype is not a fantasy. It's not some mythical invention or New Age term. It is a psychological pattern that lives in all men, regardless of culture, time, or background. Carl Jung described archetypes as the ancient blueprints of the human psyche, primordial forces embedded in the unconscious, waiting to be activated. These archetypes are not ideas. They are energies, scripts. They are roles you were born knowing how to play, if only the world hadn't taught you to forget. Every man comes into the world with the potential to embody the king, the magician, the lover, and the warrior. Each one carries a vital piece of the puzzle. The king governs, he builds, he creates order and takes responsibility. The magician sees the hidden, he innovates, transforms and teaches. The lover feels, he connects, he brings joy, play and passion. The warrior acts, he moves, he defends, risks and confronts. But most men today are disconnected from these archetypes. They wander without guidance. They are either trapped in boyhood or chained by shame. Instead of embodying the king, they seek permission. Instead of becoming the magician, they scroll endlessly, never creating. Instead of expressing the lover, they numb their emotions with porn and meaningless sex. And instead of awakening the warrior, they avoid conflict and call it peace. The disconnection isn't their fault, but it is their responsibility. Modern society has no rite of passage, no initiation, no map to manhood. Boys are left to figure it out alone. And in the absence of initiation, the archetypes remain dormant. But the good news is this: these forces are not dead. They're only sleeping, and when awakened, they don't whisper. They roar, they rise, they remind you of who you were before the world told you to shrink. This is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about remembering who you already are. You don't need to become the archetypes. You need to reclaim them. By the end of this journey, you will not just understand these archetypes. You will begin to reconnect with them. You will feel their presence returning to your body, your voice, your decisions. This video is your initiation, and once you step through, there is no going back. Let's talk about the parts of you that you know are missing, even if you've never put a name to them. Because long before a man feels lonely, he feels confused. Before the silence of his apartment echoes in his chest, he He feels directionless. And before he admits that something is wrong with his life, he's already abandoned his own internal compass. This compass. It's built from archetypes. Carl Jung described archetypes as universal patterns, blueprints that shape our behavior, our dreams, and our myths. And for men, there are 4 primary archetypes that serve as internal pillars: the king, the magician, the lover, and the warrior. In modern society, the warrior is actively suppressed. But the other 3? They aren't demonized, they are simply forgotten, lost, muted. And without them, a man doesn't just feel weak, he feels fake. He feels like he's acting through life, performing roles that have no soul behind them. Let me show you what that looks like. The king is the part of you that governs, not just others but yourself. The king brings order to chaos. He is the one who says, "This is my domain, and I will care for it with discipline, vision, and power." When you're in touch with the king, you don't need validation. You don't seek approval. You rule. But modern men are rarely taught to lead. We're trained to obey. We're conditioned to wait for permission. And so the king within us shrivels, and the man, the full man, is never born. Then there is the magician. This is your inner alchemist. The magician is the part of you that solves problems, that transforms suffering into insight. He sees patterns, breaks through blocks, and brings wisdom into the world. He is curious, creative, and dangerous because he understands the unseen forces at play. But how many men are encouraged to cultivate this, to sit with their emotions, to transmute their pain instead of running from it? Modern society rewards distraction, not introspection, so the magician goes quiet, and the man becomes stuck in loops he doesn't even know he's repeating. Then we come to the lover. And this might be the most starved part of all. The lover is your source of connection. He makes life beautiful, poetic, rich with color. He teaches you to feel deeply, to touch with presence, to enjoy food, music, intimacy, and even your own existence. But we live in a world that commodifies love. Porn replaces connection. Dating becomes a game. Sex becomes performance. The lover within you is not interested in conquest. He wants communion. But when this archetype is ignored, a man becomes numb. He can have women, he can have money, he can even have success, but he won't feel any of it. So, what do we have? A man without a throne, without a vision, without magic, and without love. He's not just alone, he's fragmented. This is why modern male loneliness is so much deeper than just lacking friends or romance. It's a spiritual starvation. And to heal it, we don't just need connection with others. We need reconnection with ourselves, with the king, with the magician, with the lover. And soon we'll talk about the warrior, because he is the fire that awakens the rest. Let me tell you a hard truth. The warrior is missing. Not dead, not gone, but buried, suppressed, and feared. He's the part of you that modern society has tried to medicate, silence, or tame. The part that once would have stood on the edge of the village with a spear in hand, eyes sharp, purpose clear. The part that didn't flinch from danger but leaned into it. But where is he now? He's been exiled, replaced by the nice guy, the over-apologetic, approval-seeking, hesitant shell of a man who tiptoes through life, hoping not to offend. Why? Because aggression has become taboo. Assertiveness mistaken for toxicity, strength mistaken for threat, and any flicker of primal energy is quickly labelled as dangerous or dysfunctional. And so, boys grow up being told to sit down, be quiet, behave, don't speak out, don't hit, don't yell, don't make anyone uncomfortable. And in doing so, we teach them that power itself is a problem. But here's the secret they never told you. The warrior is not violent, the warrior is focused, the warrior is disciplined, the warrior is pure. He is not the man who loses control, he is the man who has mastered it. It's the absence of this archetype, not its presence, that's killing men from the inside out. Because without the warrior, you don't know how to say no, you don't know how to defend what matters, you don't know how to push through fear and take action, and worst of all, you don't know how to respect yourself. The warrior gives you direction, he gives you mission, He gives you edge. He does not wait for permission. He does not whine for validation. He rises. He acts. He endures. And when you lose that warrior inside of you, what takes his place is emptiness, numbness, confusion, weakness. The kind of quiet despair that makes a man scroll for hours, drink too much, or sleepwalk through relationships that drain him. Modern society has made this version of man comfortable, but hollow. But deep down, you remember the warrior. You remember what it felt like to stand for something. You remember what it felt like to feel fire in your chest instead of anxiety in your gut. And if you don't remember, your body still does. The warrior is still in you, waiting, pacing, watching. He's not asking for your approval, he's demanding your return. So, the question is, will you keep pretending he never existed, or will you answer the call and bring him back to life? Because nothing will change in your outer world until the warrior awakens in your inner one. There is a reason men are boiling beneath the surface, restless, anxious, hollow, and that reason is simple. They've been told that one of their most powerful energies is dangerous. They've been taught to fear their own fire. From childhood, boys are told to calm down, sit still, be quiet. Don't be too loud, don't be too rough, don't be too angry. They are conditioned slowly and systematically to distrust their own instincts. But here's the truth that no one wants to say. Aggression is not the problem. Unchanneled aggression is. Aggression is the raw, untamed energy of the warrior. It is the surge of vitality that pushes a man to defend what matters, to pursue what he wants, and to protect what he loves. But when aggression is repressed, when it's not allowed to be expressed or transformed, it doesn't go away. It turns inward. And that inward aggression becomes depression, addiction, and sometimes even violence. The man who cannot express his fire eventually gets burned by it. We must stop pretending that aggression has no place in a civilized world. It has a place, a sacred one. It is not a flaw to be eradicated, it is a force to be mastered. Controlled aggression is not rage, it's not chaos, it's clarity, it's direction, it's the power to say, "This is my boundary, you do not cross it." And when a man owns his aggression without shame, people can feel it. He doesn't have to yell, he doesn't have to intimidate. His presence alone communicates strength. It's in the tone of his voice, the way he carries himself, the way he looks someone in the eye and doesn't flinch. So, how do you reconnect with that fire inside of you? You must give it room to breathe, and that means physical practice. Movement, challenge. Join a combat sport, lift heavy things, shout into the void, get in touch with the part of you that wants to fight for your own life. At first, it will feel unnatural. You've been told to sit down for too long, but the body remembers what the mind has forgotten. It knows how to rise, how to roar, how to become unshakable. Controlled aggression is not a loss of control. It is the beginning of control. Because a man who knows how to harness his fire becomes a protector, a builder, and a force no one can ignore. And in a world trying to shame that energy out of existence, the warrior honors it. He doesn't apologize for his strength, he owns it. There is a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being constantly surrounded by noise, but never truly touched. Modern men are drowning in what can only be described as pseudo-connection, an endless stream of notifications, texts, likes, memes, group chats, podcasts, background noise. Our minds are constantly stimulated, yet our souls remain untouched. We think we are connected because we're always reachable. But being reachable is not the same as being seen, and this is where most men unknowingly lose their way. Because the masculine spirit does not grow in noise, it sharpens itself in silence. It needs solitude, the kind that is sacred, structured, and uncompromising. Sacred solitude is not just time alone. It's time protected from the invasion of triviality. It's when you turn off your phone, leave it in another room, and sit with yourself. No music, no scrolling, no fake stimulation, just you. Most men have never truly sat with themselves in silence for more than 10 minutes, and so they have no idea who they are without an algorithm feeding them distractions. But the warrior knows this time is non-negotiable. It is as vital as food, water, or breath. In solitude, he regains clarity. He remembers what he's building. He hears his own inner command again. In the absence of noise, your real priorities emerge. You remember the fight you were supposed to be fighting, not the 1,000 battles social media has tricked you into caring about. The benefits are immediate: deeper focus, renewed energy, emotional stability. But the long-term reward is far more valuable: sovereignty. Solitude is how a man reclaims his throne. It is in solitude that he trains, thinks, plans, heals, creates. And sacred solitude is not a retreat. It is a return to what is real and what is worth fighting for. So if you feel lost, anxious, overstimulated, or confused, don't reach for more input. Cut it all off. Carve out time to be alone, not to escape the world, but to finally face it with a clear mind, a full spirit, and a heart that no longer craves validation from the crowd. The modern world has done something very clever and very deadly. It has taught men to fear risk and then praise them for their obedience. We were raised on comfort, conditioned into safety, every sharp edge padded, every danger removed, every leap discouraged. As boys, we were told, don't climb too high, don't run too fast, don't fight, don't fall. And so the warrior inside us went silent. But here's the secret that few are brave enough to say out loud: the masculine spirit cannot survive without risk. Risk isn't recklessness. It isn't chaos for chaos' sake. It's sacred. It's a testing ground. It's how you meet the edges of your soul and ask, am I still alive? When a man avoids risk, his world shrinks, his sense of power diminishes, and worst of all, his self-respect quietly erodes. Because deep down, he knows he's hiding. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you teach your body to be afraid. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, the business idea, the fight, the leap, the truth, you lose a piece of yourself. And the world doesn't help. It tells you to settle down, pick the safe job, stay where it's stable. Don't chase what might hurt, don't dare too much. But here's what the warrior knows: growth only lives at the edge. It's not about risking everything, it's about risking enough. Enough to wake you up, enough to scare you, enough to force you to become more than you were yesterday. Because fear is not your enemy, fear is your compass. Wherever your fear lives, your potential is hiding behind it. So the warrior doesn't run from fear, he walks directly into it. Not recklessly, but with eyes wide open, heart pounding, fists ready. He knows he might fail. That's part of the deal. But even failure is a victory, because every time you act in spite of fear, you grow. Every time you move forward without a guarantee, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You get stronger, sharper, clearer. That's why the warrior doesn't seek ease, he seeks challenge. Because in challenge, he finds who he really is. So let me ask you, when was the last time you risked something real? When was the last time you stood at the edge, looked down, and jumped anyway? If you can't remember, you already know what to do, because the boy seeks safety. But the warrior seeks fire. There is one truth that every man must eventually face, and most spend their entire lives running from it: death. In the modern world, we don't talk about it. We hide it. We sanitize it. We treat it like a glitch in the simulation, an inconvenient truth that disrupts the fantasy of control. The sick and the dying are removed from our sight. We bury them in sterile hospitals, behind curtains, behind screens. And when we do see death, it's usually in films or video games where it has no consequence, no gravity. We watch thousands of on-screen deaths without ever feeling the weight of one real one. But the warrior, the true warrior, never looks away. He knows that death is always with him, a silent shadow following every step, not as a threat, but as a sacred reminder. A man who walks with death walks with life. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't chase distractions. He doesn't beg for approval, because he knows that every breath could be his last. This is not morbid. This is power, because death strips away all the lies. When a man accepts his death, he becomes immune to shame. Suddenly he is free to dance, free to sing, free to fail in public and laugh about it, free to speak with intensity, free to live as if everything mattered, because it does. You see, modern men are drowning in shame. They're told not to cry, not to show joy, not to speak too loud. not to try too hard. The unspoken rule is this: don't make a fool of yourself, don't stand out, stay safe, stay acceptable. But death destroys that illusion, because the man who realizes he will die, truly realizes it, stops playing by those rules. He no longer needs permission. His presence deepens. He becomes magnetic because he's alive. He laughs with his chest. He looks you in the eye. He moves with intention. He doesn't waste time being lukewarm. The gods envy us. They envy us because we are mortal, because every moment might be our last, because everything becomes more beautiful when it might be taken away. This is what the modern man has forgotten. Not just that he will die, but that death is what gives his life meaning. And this is the final gift of the warrior archetype, to remind you that you are already dying, right now. And that's why you must live. You must create, speak, train, fail, rise, love, protect, take risks, start the business, leave the toxic relationship, speak the truth you've been burying for years, because there is no glory in safety, no legacy in comfort, no power in pretending you have forever. All you have is now. What we do in life echoes in eternity. So, what are you doing with yours? When a man loses his direction, he doesn't just wander aimlessly through life. He begins to rot from the inside out, because direction isn't just about having a goal. It's about having an identity. And the tragedy of modern masculinity is that most men are trying to do before they ever figure out who they are. They're hustling, grinding, chasing validation from women, money, or status. But with no internal compass, no center, no spine, just motion without meaning. This is what happens when you sever a man from the four masculine archetypes. He becomes disoriented, hollow, easily manipulated. But when a man reconnects with those inner blueprints, the king, the warrior, the magician, the lover, he doesn't just gain clarity, he becomes dangerous again, in the best way. Let me show you how to begin. 1. Train the warrior. This doesn't mean you have to join the military or become a cage fighter, but it does mean you must honor your body, push your limits, and meet your edges daily. You train not because of aesthetics, but because your nervous system learns to handle stress. You begin to trust yourself. You start walking through life like a man who can handle anything. Discipline is the skeleton of direction. No warrior ever found clarity without it. 2. Retreat with the magician. You need sacred solitude, time away from all distractions, even your own thoughts. For some, that's breath work. For others, deep journaling or meditation. The point isn't what you do, it's that you listen. The magician archetype connects you to intuition, pattern recognition, insight. He whispers truths no one else can tell you, but only when the world is silent. Most men have never heard their own voice because they're never quiet long enough to let it speak. 3. Feed the lover. The lover is not about chasing women, he's about being alive to beauty, pleasure, connection. When you eat, eat with presence. When you listen to music, really listen. When you love, whether a woman, a craft, or a sunset, give it your full heart. Men today are starved of passion. The lover archetype brings your soul back online. 4. Crown the king, and then the king. He is the integrator of all. Without him, the others remain scattered energies. The king brings order, vision. He decides what matters, what to protect, what to build. Every morning you wake up with your king online. You don't need motivation. You have a mission. When a man activates his inner king, he becomes sovereign. No longer chasing approval, no longer lost in addiction or anxiety, he becomes unshakable. This isn't theoretical. This is practical inner work. And it doesn't happen overnight. But every small choice you make to train, to sit in silence, to pursue beauty, to lead yourself, it adds up. Day by day, you stop asking for permission to exist. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop begging for connection. Because you have become the direction itself. And that's when you stop being lonely. Not because people suddenly flock to you, but because you've come home to yourself. The man who knows who he is doesn't chase. He radiates. He leads. He builds. That's your path forward. and it begins the moment you reclaim your inner king.